This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so hello everyone. So in today's session, I was told that constructors is not actually next thing we need to talk about is encapsulation. But as I was told that constructors uh, were not discussed, so let me talk about constructors. So this keyword and the super keyword. So this keyword and the super keyword. So those three things we will try to cover today. So basically, what is a constructor? Okay, so we will talk about constructor first. So constructor, it is a method. Okay, so it is a method. Okay, so constructor is a method that has the same name as of the class name. Okay, so that has the same name as of the class name. So what is the constructor here? The constructor is a method that has the same name as of the class name. Okay, and have do not have any return type. So do not have any return type, not even void. Not even void. So we do not have any return type, not even void. Okay, so a constructor is a method that has the same name as of the class name and do not have any return type, not even void. Okay, so not even void. Okay, so a constructor may not have any return type. A constructor may not have any return type, but it returns it returns the instance of the class. So it returns the instance of the class. Okay, so constructor may not have any return type, but it will return the instance of the class. Okay, so we will try and understand all these things. Okay, so in Java we have two types of constructors. In Java, we have two types of constructors. So first one is going to be, okay, so in Java, we have two types of constructors. So first one is going to be default constructors, default constructors, and next parameterized constructors. Okay, so parameterized constructors. So we have two types of constructors. One is default constructors and the other one is parameterized constructor. So whenever you are talking about the default constructors here, the constructor which is available, so which is available, the constructor which is available by default, the constructor which is available by default without even defining, okay, without even defining. So the purpose of this is to initialize. Okay, so the purpose of this to initialize the the data members. Initialize the data members. Okay, purpose of this is to initialize the data members. Initialize the data members to the default values. To the default values. So what exactly I'm trying to say here? I'm trying to say that the default constructor is the constructor which is available by default without even defining. The main purpose of that is to initialize the data member. So it will not have any parameters. It will not have any parameters. Okay, it will not have any parameters. So if we want to have some code in it, we can develop. So we can develop. So if we want to have some code in it, we can develop basically. Okay. So basically, what do I mean by this? Okay. So if you want to have some code in it, we can develop basically. Okay. Right. So the constructor can be called. The constructor can be called implicitly. Constructor can be called implicitly. That is, when the object is instantiated, or I'll say when the class is instantiated, the constructor gets called. The constructor gets called. So what do I mean by this? I'll tell you. So whenever you are creating a constructor, so what you are doing now? You are creating a constructor. Let's say you are having a class uh, products. So you're having a class product. Okay. So now what is a constructor? As I've told you, the constructor is something which is having the same name as of the class name. Same name as of the class name. So simply what I can say here, I can say product. So I can say product here. Okay. So product. So and it is a method as I told you. And it is a method. So when I'm saying product, so it is a method. So it is a method. So whenever I'm saying method, method is nothing but something like this. Okay. Now, if you don't create all, see, if you have created product, okay, you have created product constructor, but exactly this is what compiler is looking at when you are creating a class like this. If you are creating a class like this, what the compiler will be looking at? So compiler will be looking at this, looking at this. So class product. So compiler will be looking at this in this way. Okay. So with a construct. So that is why we call it as a default constructor. So default constructor. So why we are calling it as a default constructor? Because we are calling it as a default constructor because it is having uh, so it is having uh, I mean it has to be it will be created, rather it will be created without the user creating it. So that is why it is called default, and it will not have any parameters. So no parameters here. So in this you don't have any parameters. Okay, so in that way you are looking at the things. Okay, so that is what is default constructor. Okay, that is what is default constructor. Anyhow, you can write the code here. Okay, so you can write the code here and all. Okay, now let me create a class product. Okay, so class product. Okay, now so generally when the constructor will be called, so constructor will be called. Okay, so constructor will be called when you instantiate the class. The constructor will be called when you instantiate the class. Okay, how you are instantiating? So product P1 is equal to new product. Okay, so product P1 is equal to new product. So product P1 is equal to new product. So what you are doing here? You are instantiating. Okay, so you are instantiating. So P1 is equal to new product. So you are instantiating. So who will be called? This product will be called. Now here it will not execute anything. Why it will not get execute anything? Because there is no code here. Okay, but who is getting called? The constructor is getting called. Okay, who is getting called here? The constructor is getting called. Okay, so constructor is getting called. So constructor is called over here. Okay, constructor is called over here. So here it will look at the product and all, but product is not having any code or anything. Okay, so automatically what you see a constructor, but as constructor will not have any code or anything, it will not do anything. Okay, then what is the purpose of the constructor? Okay, now let me create int product id. Okay, and I will create string product name, and I will go for double product price. Okay, so double product price. Okay, now I will say product, and I will say system.out.println I am a constructor. I'm a constructor. Okay, so I'm a constructor. So it is saying that I'm a constructor. So product P1 is equal to new product. So system.out.println I am a constructor. Okay, now simply run this. Now what I'm getting here, I'm getting I'm a constructor. Super. Now you have these three values. Now I want to access those three values, and let's see what all the values that you will get. Okay, so system.out.println. So you are going to say p1 dot pid. Okay, so p1 dot pid, and you are going to get p1 dot pname, p1 dot pprice. Okay, so we did not give any values, but still you are getting 0, you are getting null, and you are getting 0.0. Okay, so now basically what is happening there? So if you observe, so what is happening over here? So if you are observing here, so you are looking at, okay, so product. So where the call is going? The call is going here. Okay, so product, the call is going here, and what it is doing? It is calling I am a constructor. Fine. Now you are saying p1.pid. You did not give any value, but automatically 0 is coming. Why? Because of the constructor. Because of the constructor. So irrespective of your code. So code doesn't matter basically. So code is there or not there, it doesn't matter. So automatically the value will be initialized. So these are the default values. So these are the default values. So whose default value? 0 is the default value of integer. Null is the default value of string. 0.0 is the default value of double. Okay. So in that way, you are going to have the values. Okay, so you are going to have the values initialized. Okay, you are going to have the values initialized. So that's how you are going to take the things into consideration. Okay, so take the things into consideration. So this is basically called as the constructor. Okay, so basically called as the constructor. So constructor is a method. Constructor is a method, basically method which has the same name as of the class name, Okay, and it is especially used for what? Especially used for accessing. Okay, so accessing the method with the same name or as of the class. And one more thing, it is also useful for initializing the value, the variables basically. Okay, so that's what the basic idea of the constructor. Okay, right. Next, this is all default constructor. Then we will go for parameterized constructor. Parameterized constructor. So whenever I'm talking about parameterized constructor, the constructor with parameters. The constructor with parameters. The constructor with parameters. Okay. Parameterized constructor means the constructor with parameters. Constructor with parameters and can be called by passing the parameters. Passing the parameters at the constructor call. The constructor call. The constructor call basically. Okay. Right. So now for example, I will say, okay, I'll put these three things over here. So int p, comma, string n, and I will say double R. Okay, so double. So now I am having three parameters here. Okay, so I'm having those three parameters, and what I'll be doing is I will be assigning PID is equal to no need of int, already gave int, already gave string, already gave double. So PID is equal to P. So P name is equal to N. So P price is equal to R. Okay, so what you are doing here? You are passing the values. You are passing the value. So you are not worried about the default value. So you are passing the values. Now 1024. So comma mobile. Okay. So mobile, and you are looking at the price of the mobile. Okay. So in that way you are getting the things. Okay. So here this is not required now. So this is also initialization only, literally speaking, but not the value, not the values that you are. Okay. So mobile, and you have 2569. Okay. So this value, right? So now what you're doing here, so you are, okay, so what you are doing, so you are passing the data. Okay, you are passing the data. So in this way, you are looking at these values. Okay, so you are looking at these values, right? So what is happening now? So new product. Okay, so new product. So this is passed over here. So this is passed over here, and this is 1024, and this is mobile, and this is 25698. Okay, so 1024 is going into PID, mobile is going into female. Okay, so 25698 is going into P price. So PID means this one, P name means this one, so P price means this one. Okay, so in that way the values are being passed. This is called as the parameterized constructor. Parameterized constructor. So whenever I am talking about parameterized constructor, the constructor with the parameters, the constructor with parameters. So that's how you are looking at the so parameterized constructor. So whenever I am talking about the parameterized constructor, so you are passing the parameters basically. So you are passing the parameter. Okay, so that's how we are looking at the uh, parameterized constructor where we are passing the parameters. Okay, so that's how we look at the constructors concept. Okay, so the concept of the constructor. So then we will be looking at encapsulation. Okay, so encapsulation. Then we will talk about the this keyword and everything. So it is a process of binding the data. Okay, so the topic I'll include here, encapsulation. Okay, so encapsulation topic here is encapsulation. So here encapsulation, so process of binding the data and the methods. So binding the data and the methods. Okay, so the process of binding the data and the methods. In Java, POJO classes. Okay, so what are POJO classes basically? Plain old, so plain old Java objects. So plain old Java objects. Okay. So in Java POJO classes, the plain old Java objects are the are the best examples for encapsulation. Encapsulation. In POJO classes, we have private data members, and public methods. Since the data must be accessed only within the class, and and with the help of the methods. So accessed only within the class and with the help of the class methods only. With the help of the class methods only. Okay. So class methods only, even outside the class. Even outside the class. Okay. So if you want to access, you can even access outside the class. So what I want here, I want private data members and the public methods. Okay. So a POJO can also be called as Java Bean, where we will have setters and getters. Setters and getters. Okay, so setter and getter method. We'll have setter and getter methods. Setter and getter methods. Okay, right. So now what are all this? We will try and understand. Now let's say same product class. Now this is product class. Okay, so here, so you can have the constructor, no problem. So we will keep this optional. Okay, so for now we will keep this optional. Later on we will try and get to that. Okay, so now I want to set this PID. So if I want to set this PID, I will make this private first. So private means they can't be accessed outside the class. They can't be accessed outside the class. Okay, so private. Okay, so private int set PID. Okay, so we are setting PID. So how can we set the PID? Okay, so how can we set the PID? So now, as you don't have the idea of this keyword, I'm not using this keyword. Later on, I'll show you this keyword also. So int c. Now, okay, sorry, public void. Okay, so public void set PID. So what I'll say is, I'll say PID is equal to P. Okay, PID is equal to P. And in the say, here I should say public. Okay, so public methods. And here you will have set the P name and you will have string P n rather. Okay, so P name is equal to n. So P name is equal to n. And then set P price. Set P price. So where you say double, so double R. Okay, so constructor we are not worried about. Okay, otherwise I'll take off this. Okay, so there won't be any confusion. So P price. So P price is equal to R. So P price is equal to R. Then we will have public int get PID. Get PID. So get PID. So you are going to return. So return PID. So return PID. Same thing for the other method. Same thing for get pname. But what get pname will return? Get pname will return string. Get pname will return string. So return pname. So return pname. Okay, same thing. Get P price, get the P price. So here I will say, okay. So in this way, you are having the setters and getter method. Setters and getter method. So this is a bean or a POJO class. Okay, so this is called as a bean or a POJO class. If at all in the future, so you can add the constructor later. Okay, so add the constructor later. Okay, so you can add the constructor later, no problem. Okay, so private data. So this is the best example for encapsulation. So private data and the public methods and the public methods. Okay, so in that way you are looking at the thing. Okay, so that's how you design. So that's how you design what? So you design the POJO class, uh, uh, or you can say the Java Bean class, and it is a classic example for the uh, encapsulation. Okay. Okay. Now it's time to access the data. Okay. Now for accessing the data, what I can do is I can create the product class. Okay. So not only from this particular class. Okay. I think so. P price. So here it is double, right? So it should be double. So double the P price. Okay. Now not only from here, so you can access it from anywhere. Okay. So now, for example, I will say P1 dot P. You cannot access uh, the P price rather. So why you cannot access the P price? Okay, so why you cannot access the P price here? So P price cannot be accessed because of P1 dot P price. Okay, so this. So P1 dot P price, so it cannot be accessed. One second, I P1. Okay, not method. So P1 dot P price. So you can see what is the error that you get over here. So the error that you will get over here is not visible. The field is not visible. So why the field is not visible here? Because the P price is not products. P price is not visible. Why? Because it is private. So means we cannot access the data outside. Okay, we cannot access the data outside. So that's what the point is. Okay. Now when I'm saying P1, so I need to set the value. Okay, so first we will set the value. So now don't think that anyhow here only we have get method, here only we have set method. What is the point here in setting and getting? Okay, so think that you are working in a distributed environment. Okay, so you are working in a distributed environment where you have only the methods. Okay, where you have only the method names or methods. Okay, so that is how you have to think about it. Okay, so P1 dot, so this is setting the data, setting up the data. So set the PID, set the PID. So P1 dot set the PID. So I will set the PID to 1024. Okay, and I will set the P name. Okay, I'll set the P name. So I'll set the P name to I'll set the P name to mobile, and I will set the P price. Okay, I will set the P price. So P price to something like this. Okay, so 25897. Okay, now getting the data. So the data, getting the data. So how I can get the data? So system.out.println, I can say get the PID, and I can say P1 dot get the P name, P1 dot get the P price, P1 dot get the P price. Okay, so in this way you are going to get the details. Okay, so that's how you are trying to go for the you're trying to go for the accessing of the data. So accessing of the data. So this is how we can access the data basically. Okay. So what we are doing here, we are accessing the data. We are accessing the data. So we are creating the product class with setter and with data, of course, and set and get method. Set and get method. So data set will set the data, get will get the data. So basically, what is encapsulation? Having data and members and then data and methods, and those methods will try to access the data values. Okay, so that's what the main idea of the encapsulation. Okay, now let us talk about the this keyword. Okay. So what this keyword will tell you? So this keyword, it is used. So it is used for accessing the instance members of the class. Instance members of the class. Okay, so we can access variables, methods, and constructors. Variables, methods, and constructors. So first we'll talk about variables. Okay, so variables. So variables. So this keyword is used for accessing the instance variables. Accessing the instance variables. Now, for example, here instead of p, so everywhere I can use PID. Okay, everywhere I can use PID. And if I say PID and if I say p name and if I say p name and if I say p price and here also if I say p price. Okay, so generally what happens is I'll just take away this. So if you observe here, you are getting 0, null and 0, 0. So what is the problem here? The problem is the values are set up to the parameters. The values are not set up to this. So now the left side one should be this actually. But this left side and right side one are this are these variables, are the variables which are in the set PID. So in order to access these things, okay, so we can use the this keyword. We can use the this keyword. So this keyword. So we can use this keyword. Okay, so we can use this keyword. So like this, we can access. Okay, so we can access the instance members of the class. Okay, so we can access the instance members of the class. So that is the main idea here. So what is the main idea here? So we can access the instance number. So this PID is this actually, but this PID is this. So if you don't give this, so this PID and this PID will be referring to the same. So that is why we are saying this dot PID, this dot PName. Okay, this dot P means you are assigning the values into this. Okay, so in that way you are looking at it. Okay, then you say methods. So this also is used for accessing the methods, accessing the methods of the class. Okay, methods of the class. Now, okay, so just forget about product for some time. We'll make it easy. So I'll create class 1. Okay, and I will say I'll create one method void met1. Okay, void met1 dot out of println hello I'm a method. Hello I'm a method. Okay, so and again I will go for hello method 2. Hello, I am also a method. I am also a method. So here what I will do is I will go for this dot meth1. So this dot meth1. So this dot meth1. So what this dot meth1 will do? So 1 O is equal to new 1. Now for example, if you are saying O dot meth1. So the call will be made. Okay. So dot meth1. Sorry, meth2. Okay. I should say meth2. Yeah. So now how the call is going? So call is going, what you observe here? So you observe that when you are saying this dot, okay, so first the call is going here, and from here the call will reach up there, and what is printed? Hello, I am method is printed. So what is the output? Basically output is this. Okay, so what the output I got? So the output I got, so hello, I am a method. So hello, I am a method. So where the call is going? So the call is going here. Hello, I am also a method. Okay, hello, I am also a method. So you are making a call. Hello, I am a method. Okay, so our method means, so you are making a call to one dot method two. Okay, again this dot method two means the call is going here. So first this printed, and after the call, it has to come back and execute the next steps. Okay, so in that way you are looking at. Okay, so today we will not be covering the super keywords. Okay, so we will finish this with this. Okay. So this is how we can go further. This for a method. Okay, so this for a constructor. Okay, so this for a constructor. So we can access the constructor by using this of for a default constructor, and this with parameters. This with parameters for a non-default, a non-default. Okay, so for a non-default constructor, right? So we can access the constructor by using this for a default constructor, and this of parameters for a non-default constructor. Okay, so for a non-default constructor. So in that way, you are going to have this. Okay, so you are going to have. Okay, so that's how you are looking at the constructor call. Okay, so rule is the calls must be made. The calls must be made from inside the constructor, and must be placed in the first line only. Must be placed in the first line only. The calls must be made from inside the constructor and must be placed in the first line only. So what is the meaning of this? Okay, so first of all, create a constructor. Okay, so create a constructor and create one more constructor, and here you give some value x, and here you say this. Here you say this. Okay, so this I'm a constructor. I'm also a constructor. I'm also a constructor. Then int x comma int y. I am also another constructor. Okay, so this I will make it 10. I'll make it 10. Okay. So what happens now? So if you observe here, okay, Now let me make a call to this one. Okay, how to make a call to this one? So 5 comma 2. Now if you observe here, so what exactly happened I guess. So now the constructor call. Okay, let me take up all this. Okay, so let me put it over here. Okay, now if you observe, so you are making a call to 5 comma 2. So 5 comma 2 call is going here. So this is taken as 5, this is taken as 2. So this of 10. So this call again is going here. Okay, and this is going to be 10. Okay, and again this call is going here. Okay, so first it is executing this, and after the call it comes back and it will give you hello I'm a constructor. Okay, so it is going to give you hello I'm a constructor. So first it gave you hello I'm constructor, it gave you hello I'm constructor. Then again the call is over, again it will come here. So this will give you hello I'm a constructor. So in this way you are looking at the values. You are looking at the values. Okay, so that's how it goes. And what is the rule as I've told you? So if you put it like this, it will give you error. It will give you error. If you put it like this, it will give you error. So what it says, I cannot be on the last line or any line other than the first line, other than the first line. Okay. Suppose if you are working with a method, if you are giving in a method, so you will still get the same answer. Okay, so you will still get the same answer. So what is that answer? So here this of 10. So here you will get constructor call must be the first statement inside the constructor. And if it is inside the method, it won't work. Okay, so that's how you are looking at the errors here. Okay, so these are the errors. So these are the rules basically. Okay, so this is all about the constructors. Okay, so all about the constructors, all about the encapsulation and the display. Okay, and the display. Okay, so that's it for today. So we'll meet in the next. Thank you.